Right, okay, time to actually review Premium Kit 1 from Combat Patrol, which will then inevitably lead to me building it and then trying to badly paint it. Right, so let's have a look what we get in our Premium Kit. One of the positive things about Combat Patrol, to my mind, is that you're getting such variety of miniatures. I think if you're a new collector, you don't really know what you like. You see something like the Space Marines and you think, yeah, they're freaking awesome. You see things like the Tyranids and you think they're even more freaking awesome. The good thing about Space Marines is they're easy to paint. The problem with Tyranids is they're very hard to paint. And you know, that can really kill passion, actually, in my mind, if you don't enjoy painting, but you're the kind of person who are obsessed over having a painted army on the tabletop. So the variety is good because it gives you a little bit of a dip into each type of faction, and you can then decide which one you like the best. Right, so let's have a look then. We get our Brutalis Dreadnought and Hive Tyrant with this one. Now, of course, we get our how to build. Normally, I will tell you right now, look, I like 3D add-ons for miniatures. I think anyone should have the right to go and 3D print or purchase a 3D print or something like that of extra parts for miniatures for conversions and kit bashing. I openly encourage it. What I don't like is what's known as recasting. And I'll enter a debate into anyone about, the pros and cons of it, in the fact that quite a lot of people who buy recasts are the kind of people who was probably never going to buy the genuine copy in the first place. So, so if they get a proxy or whatever, I just wouldn't personally. However, what I have seen is people buy on Etsy a spare body for this. Basically, because you can build this in two ways. You can build it as the actual proper Hive Tyrant, but it can also be built as a winged Hive Tyrant, and you get enough pieces in the box to do both almost. So I have seen people be able to go on Etsy and get basically a second body to buy. Again, I don't encourage, I make it clear, I do not approve of recasts of intellectual property theft or anything like that. I'm just telling everyone that, you can build, you can get, I will deal with grief if they ban this video because I'm not encouraging it, I'm just saying it's an option if you want to build both the Tyrant and the Winged Tyrant. Okay. What we've got here is the Brutalis Dreadnought. Now, a hand-to-hand Dreadnought, basically, with some really cool add-ons like this cannon on the top of its chassis. I want my Emperor's Son's Dreadnought to be very well built. But I really want to try and add something to it to make it my Emperor's Son's. And part of me really feels like I might look for the ancient Rylanor model and see if I can green stuff onto this. Just some way of honouring ancient Rylanor. For anyone who knows who ancient Rylanor is, he is an Emperor's Children Dreadnought who stayed loyal during the Horus Heresy. And then he basically survived in his sarcophagus for a very long time and basically, Imperial fisted Fulgrim when he saw him again. Okay. Anyway, so here we go. It's got some nice painting techniques. It's showing you the colours that we've already got, which is good. It's not telling you, go away and find loads of paints that you just don't have. It's actually kind of saying these are paints that we should get. I think there's a couple of paints that we might not have at this point, but at least it's kind of not, for the most part, it's not going over the top. I'm pretty certain that you will get all of these paints eventually. So, you know, it's got a lovely how to paint guides in it. And then, you know, collecting, and it looks to me like we've got a bit of a bust up between the Space Marines and the Tyranids, including these wonderful models. So what we have here is some really cool stuff. Okay, downside, I don't see I think it would not have harmed them to give us proper data sheets for these, you know, the card ones that we've been getting. I just feel like it would have been a nice thing. You know, it's not going to have hurt them, is it, that much, doing that tiny little bit of card print out? Right. Let's have a look at the actual models then. Now, I'm going to start off with the Brutalis Dreadnought. I'm going to assume that this is a mono pose kit. I'm going to assume that it is a mono weapon kit. Okay. I prefer my big kits to have a bit of variety. Just give me 1 second. Actually, I'm gonna get something. So, for my mind, this is a Contemptor Dreadnought from the Horus Heresy series. He has been magnetised so that I can basically switch weapons at will. Now, on top of that, the model is very well posable. So I can do quite a lot of choices as far as both weapon options and actually posing him. I'm going to assume that that's not an option on this. Now, one thing that I am very curious about is size comparison, because this is an ancient Contemptor Dreadnought from the Horus Heresy, painted up for the Blood Angels. I'm looking at size and scale of the Brutalis. It's called the Brutalis. I'm terrible at... It's got something where I read things and I get them completely wrong when I actually read them. So, looking at the hip joints seem quite the same, but looking at like some of the armor plates on this thing, looking at the size of the claw on it, I think this thing is significantly larger than a Contemptor Dreadnought. You know, whereas the older Firstborn Dreadnoughts from Warhammer 40k, the boxes, basically, the stunty lead boxes, were, you know, they're slightly smaller than this. But looking at the hip joints, they're about the same hip width, but I think what it is this thing is taller. You can see you've got like your sarcophagus there, and it does give the impression of quite a bit of height to it. So I like the idea that this is could be a beast. It's all about the upscaling with Primaris. See, although technically a Dreadnought is a dead Space Marine, pretty much. It's a Space Marine on life support, stuck in a sarcophagus. And actually, if a Space Marine is that badly injured, there's not much of a body left. So the size of the chassis doesn't really matter. They could have easily fit a Primaris into an old-style Dreadnought chassis. However, what would have happened then if they kept the old Dreadnought model? It would have looked too small. It would have looked very tiny in comparison to the Dreadnought. If you have a look at how big a Terminator is, an Indominus era Terminator compared to a Contemptor Dreadnought, it stands pretty much half the height of a Contemptor. So actually, if you had the original squatty-legged box Dreadnought, the Terminator would have been coming up to it and it would have looked wrong. So I get it. improved it. So you've got some lovely details on this. We do seem to have weapon options here. I'll be curious if basically how they say attach to the top, or if you can replace the hands and go for hand weapons, you know, instead of claws. So that'll be something that I will be looking into as I do this. Okay, and then we have the main event, so to speak. I think this is, quite frankly, one of the most impressive things that you are likely to see in Combat Patrol if you got the premium subscription. Look at that for a beast. That is a Hive Tyrant. So we can build this as a standard Tyrant. His bone swords and his whips with guns. Or we can put him up in the air, basically. Oh, I am building this guy up in the air. This thing is going to be swooping down on my enemies. There's no other way to put it. If we want to give an understanding of the size of this thing, here's the Psychophage. So the Psychophage body is very large. It's supposed to be very large. You can see that it actually, but a huge part of this is this massive kind of abdomen. Is that the right word for this thing? And basically, overall, though, if you take into account the tails, you know, the length of the tails on these, it's going to be a beast. And the fact that the wingspan is as big as a Psychophage just can give you an idea of how much of a beast this thing truly is. And as I said, I have seen people get 3D printed spare bodies to basically give them two kits out of this, you know, which I think is, you know, fair enough. Yeah. So there we go. That is our premium kit, premium set 1, with two amazing models. You've got this beast of a tank of a Dreadnought, and then even beastier tank of a Hive Tyrant to really kind of, I mean, imagine this thing swooping in to battle. It's just going to absolutely devastate you, isn't it? Right, so yeah, I like this. It's pretty cool. So thanks for watching, and I will see you for the next video.